Hello. And when I tell you, I am so excited today. I haven't even introduced myself. Hi, y'all. It's Shantae. I am your host here at the Best Today podcast. I say that at the top of the episode as well in the introduction. But y'all, I am elated today because today we're not going to talk about Bruno, as I said. If you have never seen Encanto, that reference is not funny to you. But chances are, if you haven't been living on a rock, you've at least heard the reference to the song. We don't talk about Bruno or No se hable de Bruno. Today we're talking about Encanto, but not just the movie. We're talking about it as it relates to Best Today. So I'm so thrilled because today is a little different from anything I've ever done, but not really, because it's exactly like everything I've done. And that is talking about Best Today principles and how you can apply them to your life. And today we're just talking about how Disney's most recent movie, Encanto, is a beautiful reflection of a lot of Best Today principles. Now, I'm going to tell you, let me not get ahead of myself. I will say I have watched this movie 3 times now. By the time this actually airs, it will be way more than that, I'm sure. I've listened to the soundtrack every single day. And I'm going to say that the second time I watched it, it was for work, for research, because I took lots of notes. Because once I watched it the first time, I knew I wanted to do a podcast episode about this. Because again, there's so many Best Today lessons in there. And I will also say I am not going to fully unpack all of Encanto because that will require at least 3 episodes. There is a lot of layers and a lot of fantastic, beautiful lessons in that movie. So today I'm going to keep my focus to 5 Best Today principles that were evidenced in Encanto. There are 5 lessons I've already taught before, but now I can kind of really show you an example of what this looks like in real life. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm going to do it with a focus on 4 characters. We'll talk about kind of the whole family, but really there are 4 people I'm focused on. Maribel, the main character, and her 2 sisters, Isabel and Luisa. Isabel and Luisa. I'm going to try really hard not to sing this episode. And then the matriarch of the family, Abuela, their grandmother. So if you've not watched Encanto, this discussion will have spoilers, I will say that, but none of them will take away from the beauty of the storyline if you watch it later, or if you choose never to watch it, you can still listen and you'll get a lot from it. But I do think watch Encanto if you have the ability to do so. Okay, let's get straight into it because I'm really excited to talk about these Best Today principles that were highlighted. A lot of them overlap, as with a lot of our principles, because they are built upon the same foundation. But today, let's talk about Best Today principles that were beautifully illustrated in Disney's most recent movie, Encanto. All right, so let's just get started. Number 1 is this concept of external versus internal sources, or being the foundation of your choices. And it'll make sense once I start talking about it. There is this sentence, there's this phrase that is said. I should have counted how many times it was said, but this sentiment was carried over so deeply throughout the movie. And I wonder if you caught it. This concept and this statement, this phrase of make your family proud. Make your family proud. Make your family proud. It's said over, go back and rewatch and just count how many times it is said and ingrained, and look at the age of the person in which it is said to. It is said to people early in their childhood. So early on, we see Abuela talking to Maribel. Am I saying her? Yes. To Maribel when she's about to get her gift, the day she's going to get her gift. And she says, you're going to make your family proud. And when we see what happens and unfolds in this family, what pressure and what weight to put on a child, that their job, it is their responsibility, their role in life to make their family proud. In particular, because here making your family proud is completely out of your control, but I'm getting ahead of myself. But what happens is we see early on and it comes from the top on down, the top being the matriarch, Abuela, who tells her family, who teaches the children in the family that their responsibility is to make their family proud. And this belief gets handed down. We see Maribel telling Antonio the same thing on the day he's to get his gift, make your family proud. And tying in making your family proud to something that, again, is out of their control. It is by receiving this gift. They're not in control of what gift they get. And so even on Antonio's, the day of him getting his gift, Abuela tells him again, make us proud. So it's just this continual concept of telling children that, putting this pressure on them that we see exhibited in adulthood through Luisa later on, this pressure of your choices are a reflection of this family, and it has to make us proud, not make yourself proud, right? That's not the context. So it's this external pressure to make your life choices based on how you are received and perceived externally, because it's going to go beyond that. When you teach your child, or when you teach a person that they exist to make their family proud, make their community proud, make their school proud, make whoever else outside of themselves proud, they're going to extend that to other things. And they are going to start looking and making, even when making decisions, think not, is this what I need? Is this what's best for me? But is this going to make insert person proud? And that's teaching people from an early age to think, look outward for their choices, right? And not internally, not honor who you are, what you need, what you want. Because as we see also depicted through Isabella, making the family, Isabel, making the family proud, she chose that over honoring what she wanted. She didn't want to marry Mariano, but she did it for the family, or was going to do it for the family. So the first thing is making sure that we have this clear picture of this external versus internal dichotomy that is happening in life. And I talk about the external, internal so much in so many different ways, but creating the foundation of your choices should be internal, not external, basically. You know, Abuela says in the movie, our community is counting on us. She tells her family that she's forcing her family to be one thing and one way for others. Like, we have to be this for the family, and we have to be this for the community. The example also of forcing Isabel to marry and bring more children into the family so they have more gifts. Like, so that, and she's not like, oh, I want grandchildren. She's like, no, we need to bring in more gifts into the family. I guess I should give you a little context, because someone listening is like, what? You haven't seen the movie. In short, Encanto is about a family who's led by a matriarch, Abuela, who at a very dark and hard time right after having triplets, lost her husband, and they were gifted this candle, turned into like this magical house and created this village, and it protected them. And everyone in her family, her triplets, so her 2 daughters and a son, all received gifts from the house, casita. And the oldest daughter, well, actually they're triplets. So one daughter had the ability to control the weather with her emotions, another heals with food. The 3 daughters who I'm talking about, their mother. And then the son, Bruno, I said we're going to talk about him, but he can see into the future. And so then their children have gifts as well. And Maribel, as we'll talk about, did not get a gift in the manner in which everyone else in the house did, her cousins and her sisters rather. So Luisa, as we'll talk about, one of her sisters has the gift of being extremely strong. I mean, sis is strong. She can like push a church that was tilted and make it straight. She picks up donkeys and tosses them around like she's carrying multiple donkeys. She's literally strong. Isabella has the ability to create beautiful florals. And she's just known as like the perfect one. Never had a bad hair day, and just with her hands can just beautify any space and place with flowers. So just for context there, I want to give you that. And so, but every family member uses their strengths for good. So Luisa helps around the town with using her strength. Isabel will go around and make things beautiful with her flowers. And Abuela puts this pressure on her family to use their gifts for good, which that by itself, well, not the forcing part, but like using our gifts for good, I think we all agree, honorable. However, this is also an example of you can take something that is honorable and completely destroy it and turn it into something that's bad and not helpful and unhealthy. Abuela basically doesn't care at all about what the family thinks and feels about who they are and what they are outside of their gifts, right? Her focus is on, these are the gifts we have and we have to keep using them. We have to, and part of that, and I'll talk about that in a second, is Abuela feeling a responsibility to earn or continue to be worth the miracle that they received. Because again, this was a miracle, a gift that they were given as a family. But the pressure that it puts on people is directly seen. We have a song called Surface Pressure by Luisa, and I'll talk about that later on. That song, if you just read the lyrics there, I mean, that song could be an episode all in itself. But what we see is this the result of putting this pressure on our children or on ourselves to make other people proud is unhealthy, and it's unhealthy, and it will spiral, and it will not end well, basically. We think about Bruno, who he says in the movie, my gift wasn't helping my family. So he left because to him, he was raised that ingrained of you have to make your family proud. So what happens when you don't? You leave. That's to him, that's what you do. And that's what he did. He thought he wasn't needed because his gift wasn't helpful. And so for the parents listening out there, I guess this lesson as it relates to the movie is like, be careful and mindful of what we're telling our children. Making your family proud probably sounds like something that's safe to say. And like, yeah, of course, because we want them to make good choices. But that's saying, I want you to make good choices because of how we will feel about it, how we will be perceived. It ignores you. It completely wipes your identity, which is what we see happen to Maribel. She didn't see herself. For a number of reasons, but this whole pressure of make your family proud, let's be mindful of the places we're doing that to ourselves and where we're doing it to others. So that's the first lesson, is really making sure that our source of our foundation is internal and not external. Okay. Number two is a whole episode about this, and that is that comparison is the thief of self. I talk about that all in episode 35, which we will link in the show notes, besttodayguide.com/51. Comparison is the thief of self. Maribel says she's not special because she doesn't have a gift, as evidence like the rest of her family. Like you can tangibly, physically see what each one of her family members can do for the most part. Dolores, she can hear anything. But this is something that's constantly thrown at her. At Antonio's ceremony, once he gets his gift, the family says, Abuela says, let's take a picture. And they take a picture and don't even include her in it, So she doesn't have her own special tower or room. Every other person, including her younger cousin, has like a huge tower devoted to their gift and to who they are. And she's still sleeping in what's called the nursery. It's cold and lonely. And so clearly in that situation, in that house, comparison feels kind of like the human thing response to that. However, what that does is it causes her not to see herself. She's so busy looking at all of the gifts that everyone else has. And the adults in her life, actually one adult in her life, her abuela, has a huge part in that, in causing her to look at herself in a comparative role, right? Let me go back to my notes. So I wrote in my notes that, all these things that she doesn't have. She doesn't have the gift. She doesn't have the special room. And that leads her to feel inadequate to the point of always trying so hard to seek the approval, the recognition, the admiration, the adoration, really from her abuela. Because her mom, as we see, is working so hard because her mom is aware of what's going on. And her mom sees what happened with her brother, Bruno. He left the family and she doesn't want that. And she says, I don't want that to happen to you. Her mom works really hard to affirm her, tell her how special and how loved she is, but it doesn't replace what her abuela has already planted in her head, that, the gifts are what make the family proud. And so you not having a gift are not making the family proud. And it makes her, that leads to that comparison that she has. And that we see that in the song, Waiting on a Miracle, where she literally begins the song comparing herself to like, I can't do this. I can't do this. I don't have this ability like everyone else in my family does. And she sings that she's standing on the side while her whole family shines. And she ends with, am I too late for a miracle? And she sees everyone in the family but herself. Like she sees them for who they are, for what they are. And it seems, the way she's treated by her abuela is really like my biggest problem. Because abuela, what I think is important is even though she has a mother who loves and affirms her, it is still insufficient because there is another woman also important in her life who has caused her to not see herself because of what she lacks with this gift. Abuela tells her to step aside, let everyone do what they do best when she tries to help on the day of Antonio's ceremony. Like, again, so she's spending her life trying to win the approval and and adoration of this one person. And I think, look at the places in your life where you're trying so hard. Because, Maribel was trying so hard. Where are you trying too hard? That might be a sign that this is a place where you're trying to force someone to see you And maybe it's because you don't see yourself. At Best Today, we exist to help women just like you be your best one today at a time. So each week on the podcast, we are going to highlight your stories and your voices. So let's see what's in the inbox today.
I have been so inspired by the Best Today community and the Best Today resources and products, in particular, the courage and the consistency that is invited to offer us to show up in our hearts and to be present and unconditionally present to who we are in this moment and who we are becoming. And I really value that immensely. I will say that for me to hear about the seasons and being on purpose, my experience of the days that I do stay committed to my word of practicing, finding my rise time and knowing what I'm going to focus on and where I'm going to get an important piece in completion consciousness, and how I feel after setting myself up in that way has been magical, especially amidst these ongoing, very chaotic and uncertain pandemic times that we are living in. And so I just wanted to say how much I appreciate the Best Today team and the work that is out in the world to keep us connected to living both intentionally, which is a huge part of my life and work, and also just truly in a space of collective healing so that we are showing up in ways that our hearts feel most aligned. And so I just want to appreciate and send out this gratitude for the community and for the work and resources, Shante, that you have put together. So thank you so much for how you show up in this world and for inviting us all in. I am day 144 into a practice, and I work diligently to keep myself in my word for holding space and making use of knowing what my best day today will look like. Wishing you all well. Thanks.
Jen, I just have to say, as I was listening to your voice, I just felt so soothed and calmed. So thank you so much for sharing your experience with Best Today, and congratulations. I think you said 144 days into the Best Today Guide practice. I love it so much. Thank you for being a part of our fantastic community and just for sharing with us. I can't tell you all how much I just love hearing from you, hearing your voices, which is part of why I love our community so much. I get to see your faces and hear your voices. If you are listening to this and you are not a part of the Best Today community, I want to invite you right now. Stop what you're doing. Well, keep listening, but go to besttodaycommunity.com and join the #1 online community for women who want to be proactive and intentional with their time. This is the place to be. We absolutely love it. And you are a part of that community. If you're listening right now, you're a part of this community. So let's make it official. You know how you, like in school, let's make this thing official. Let's make it official. Let us put a ring on it. When you join the community, is putting a ring on it. I cracked myself up. Okay, but Jen, thank you so much for sharing. If you want to really get into this beautiful world of Best Today, we invite you to go to besttodayguide.com. We have a quiz to help you decide which product is best for you. And actually, you don't have to decide. You answer the quiz honestly. It's a short quiz, and we will tell you what product is best for you right now based on your specific answers. You can get that quiz by going to besttodayguide.com/quiz. besttodayguide.com/quiz. I get excited when I talk about Best Today and what we do. So slow down, Shantae. But all of our resources are also going to be linked, those that are mentioned in today's episode, at besttodayguide.com/51. But everything that you need is at besttodayguide.com. And I think a great place to start is with that quiz and joining us over in the community. And a reminder that with every order of the Best Today Guide, you get your first month free in the community. So if you ask me, that's a great place to start. But I understand that we do have products that have broken down portions of the Best Today Guide for those of you who want to really baby step one step at a time into the process and practices that we teach. Everything again can be found at besttodayguide.com. Let's get back to the episode. And remember, comparison is the thief of self, because as long as you are comparing yourself, you continue to step over yourself. And I talk about this, like I said, in episode 35, to look at what everyone else has. So it just really, I think that was another thing that I saw, is that this comparison, and she's a child, and it makes complete sense. It would be actually more shocking if she didn't in the situation she was in. So also as adults, being aware of the places where we might be doing this to other people, where we're causing the young people in our lives we're putting in the position where comparing yourself is like literally the natural human thing you're going to do because of the way I've set this up. I keep saying, these people are special. They have gifts. And well, I didn't say directly, you're not special, but I mean, like, read between the lines. They're special. They have gifts. You don't. Read between the lines, right? So it was a reiteration of that comparison. But my last point, which is my favorite, I'm going to bring home the full circle moment of this where it all ends well. But we have to acknowledge that it really led to a lot of comparison on the part of Maribel, and it was really unhealthy for her. And a lot of that came from Abuela. Number 3, you are who you are independent of your roles and titles is a huge lesson that's like blatantly in your face in the movie. Abuela saw her family for the gifts, not for who they were as individuals. And this was her mistake. And I think this may be the villain. You know, there's no direct villain in that there is no one person who we're trying to chase or kill or change their mind or get to do something or overcome. But the thing that had to be overcome in this movie is understanding that the people in our world are more than the things they do for us and do for others. And I think that, in a sense, was the villain in this story. It was Abuela's mindset. And that, I believe, also is what killed the magic for the family. I think, that's what I wrote in my notes. I think that's what leads to the breakdown of the magic and them losing their powers is this belief that you are the gift. I mean, you are the gifts that you have, and you're not, like, you aren't the gift as you as a human. She comes to this realization later on, of course, and after everyone loses their gifts. But it took losing the gifts for them and for her to see her family for who they are, and allow them to be more than just their gifts. So that's just another thing I always ask people, women in particular, who are you? And then I do this a lot when I speak, and I say, raise your hand if I ask you who you are, you can tell me who you are. And then I say, put your hands down if you're going to tell me any title or any role you fulfill, and every hand goes down. No one was going to tell me who they were independent of a role or a title that you fulfill. And this is just that reminder that you are more than, your ability to spread flowers or to see into the future or to pick up donkeys, right? In the movie, in the case of these people in the story. And the same goes for you. You're more than the title. You're more than the role that you play. Number 4 kind of leads into that, and that's you're more than one thing, right? Even the people there who had these wonderful talents, they were multifaceted, they were nuanced, as we all are. None of us are one thing, right? We don't just feel one thing. The strong one, Luisa, I'm getting off my notes. Let me get back to my notes. I was going to say the strong one, Luisa, she shows us, she also can be vulnerable, but she doesn't want to see that because she's been told you are strong and that's all you can be. So back to my notes, the danger of forming your identity around one external thing, like a role or a title or what you're known for or known as, there's a lot of danger in forming your identity around that, around something external, right? For Luisa, she's the strong one. She's the example I want to use for this point. Surface Pressure, like I mentioned earlier, the song is so rich in lessons that, again, it could be its own episode. But if you go and look at the lyrics, she starts with, I'm the strong one. That for her comes with a few things. It means you can't be weak, whatever weak might mean to her. And weak means anything that's not strong, meaning you can't be afraid, you can't cry, you can't feel, you have to just be strong. And that's not how humans work. but she didn't know that because she's been told again, you're make your family proud, use your gift for the good for others. Who if I can't carry it all? I feel bad about letting everyone down. She says that when her magic is fading. And that song, Surface Pressure, almost every adult I talk to, that's the song more than any other song that they're like, that's me. This is how I feel because, a lot of the people in my circle are very much so either like the oldest sibling or very driven, the one in the family that everyone turns to when there's a problem or a need. And that in a family can be a very lonely place. Because you feel like you have to show up a certain way and you don't get to be a human. You don't get, because humans are nuanced. We feel more than one thing, even the strongest of us, even those, it's just, that's the human experience. So externally, Louisa is strong, but under the surface, she hides her nerves. She says it's in the song. She feels worthless if she can't be of service. That was a direct line for the song. And I'm just like, wow. And I think this tied directly back to the messaging that Abuela had already put in their minds. She's taken on things that she thinks no one else can handle. One of the lines is, give it to your sister. Your sister's older. Your sister's stronger. Give her all the things that you can't shoulder. Who am I if I can't carry it all? If I falter under the surface, and then she goes into, I'm trying my best not to sing this song, y'all. But then there's a part in the song where the melody changes, everything changes because we want to, and that's intentionally so you can pay attention. She says, but wait, if I could shake the crushing weight of expectations, would that free some room up for joy or relaxation or simple pleasure? And I'm going to tell y'all the hardest thing I've done all day is not sing that as I read it. But that part of the song is like, wow, if I could shake the crushing weight of expectation, would that free some room up for joy, for relaxation or simple pleasures? I know someone listening to can relate to that. How many of you are walking around with pressure and weight that you put on yourself or allowed someone to put on your shoulder? And in doing so, you've kept yourself from having space for joy and relaxation and simple pleasure. Thankfully, we see all this come full circle in the end with Louisa admitting to her sisters that sometimes she cries and they affirm her and let her know she's not alone, and they do too. We see her lifting things again when she gets her gift back, her strength back, but then immediately we see her resting and putting her feet up, and she's learned that she can be both. There's a duality. You can be strong, but that doesn't mean that that's all you are. And being strong doesn't mean always being strong. Right? Being strong isn't something you have to be all the time. Even if you are literally physically strong like she is and can do things, doesn't mean you need to do them all the time. And we see this really beautifully illustrated with Mirabel's other sister, Isabel, the perfect one, the one who makes flowers. In her song, What Else Can I Do? After she has an encounter with Mirabel, she admits she doesn't want to marry Mariano, this guy her grandmother is trying to get her to marry. And she was just doing it for the family. And in her frustration, when she's talking to her sister, rather than making a beautiful flower, something that looks prickly and thorny, like a cactus, pops up. And she's never made anything that wasn't traditionally beautiful, like a flower. And in that moment, she realizes, I just made that. And that's actually kind of how the song begins. I just made this thing and it's not symmetrical. It's not perfect. It's not like a beautiful flower. But she says, but it's beautiful because it's mine. She talks about in that song how so much hides behind her smile. And, what would I do if I knew what I created didn't have to be perfect? I'm so sick of being pretty. I want something true. These are lyrics from her song. What can you do when you know, or what can you do when you know who you want to be is imperfect? Because she's been trapped by her abuela and her gift in this box of perfection. And so we get to see this beautiful thing about you can be more than one thing. You can create, but create things that aren't symmetrical and quote unquote perfect and that are beautiful, but maybe just beautiful to you. And that part, I just love seeing each of the sisters' evolution from Isabel and Luisa in particular, the two that they give us. And I think we get to follow their whole storyline and see it come complete circle. They're given the freedom and permission to be more than one thing and more than just their gifts. And they get to use their gifts, but also not just be their gifts. I think that's really beautiful. And the final, my favorite, best today principle that really was evidenced in Encanto is self-awareness coupled with self-love heals. Self-awareness coupled with self-love, heals. What we learn about Abuela, who I've spoken about in a bit, is kind of like the villain, or her mindset is the villain. But what we also know is that Abuela acted out of fear, fear of losing the magic, fear of her, the gifts that people in her family have, not getting gifts. You know, she was very afraid of Antonio potentially not getting it, and she even said, like, if this doesn't go well tonight, I don't know what this means for our family. She was given this gift to her family at her darkest hour, you know, right when her husband disappeared or died. And so we understand that. We can empathize with Abuela just as much as we can also point out the many things she did not do well, because we realize that it was that fear that caused her to put pressure on her family. And it doesn't excuse it, but it allows us to understand and become aware so that we can do something about it. You know, when she realizes, she being Abuela, that the entire time she forgot who and what the magic was for. It was for family. It was to protect her family. And that's what she was overlooking and who she was ultimately hurting, which is why, again, I believe the magic faded in the first place. It's because of the fact that she had so overlooked the actual people and forgot who the gift was for. And she says that herself, you know, I forgot who it was for. It was for you. It was for my family. And I think that's why it took someone like Mary Bell, someone who doesn't quote unquote have a, you know, doesn't have a quote unquote gift like everyone else, to point this out, to have a different perspective. And probably my favorite song, I love them all actually, but the only reason I would call this is my favorite song is because I love what happens here in the movie. At the end, when she says, "You're more than your gift. The miracle is not some magic that you've got. The miracle is you. Not some gift, just you." Second hardest thing I've done today is not singing that part. I might still sing it when, you know, when Abuela's like, "The miracle is not some magic that you've got. The miracle is you, not some gift, just you." Okay, I could not do it. I really sing it better than that when I'm like, you know, in the moment. But it's just beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. She had to let go of this perfection and wanting everyone to perceive her family and household as perfect and focus on the things that they could do for others. And it's so funny because we see Abuela's, you know, constant dwelling upon perfection. Because at the end, when she points out, when they have the new house that they've built now by themselves without magic, she points out, you know, the house isn't perfect. And Maribel says, "Well, neither are we." And they both can laugh and smile about that. And she says, "That's true." And that's just a full circle, because that's not the Abuela we meet at the beginning. And, you know, my favorite part of the entire movie that brings me to tears every time, even when I listen to it on the song, it brings me to tears, is when Maribel sees herself. I love that the family comes together and they see her. They gift her the doorknob to open the door that they've all built together as a community, because this community comes in. Again, that's a whole nother lesson too. There's so many rich lessons in this about community coming in and helping you and returning the many favors you've given, that they had given the community. But, you know, Maribel realizes that she is the gift to her family. It wasn't some external thing that she can do. And the family finally sees that too. And they give her that doorknob and celebrate her. And, you know, I love that they finally see her and celebrate her. But more than anything, I am so grateful that she sees herself, because I want every woman to see herself. I want you to see yourself, not for the titles, the roles, or any gifts that you have, but as the woman worthy of love and good, just because of who you are. Because there's only one you. You're the only you there ever was, and the only you there'll ever be. And I just love when Abuela says, you know, "Open your eyes. What do you see?" And Maribel simply says, "I see me. All of me." It's just the awareness of herself, and now the love, and how Abuela's self-awareness and realizing her role in the demise of her family. That self-awareness, but then the self-love and the love that Maribel even extends to her. It heals not only their relationship, but the whole family. So I think that's a gift, an absolute gift. And that's why I love this movie so much. Those are the 5 lessons. That first one was that external internal dichotomy. The second is to remind you that comparison is the thief of self. The third is that I want you to remember who you are independent of your roles and titles. And number 4, you're more than one thing. And number 5, I want to remind you that self-awareness coupled with self-love heals. And this movie, in so many ways that I couldn't even get to, illustrates these points and so many more so beautifully. I'd love to hear what you thought about Encanto. I'm going to now go listen and sing the songs because it's what I do. But I hope you enjoyed this episode. Let me know your thoughts. As always, you can text us at 404-737-1002 at Best Today. But you can also come and join us in the Best Today community by going to besttodaycommunity.com. Remember that every order of the Best Today Guide gives you your Best Today community your first month for free. So make sure to join us in the community. It's a fantastic space to be in, a safe place to really enjoy a lot of these principles that we are teaching and women who are trying to live them out every single day. So until we meet again, my friends, thank you for being present with me for this week's episode of the Best Today podcast. Remember that you are capable and you are worthy of being your best one today at a time. And you have everything you need to have everything you want. So go on and shout it out as you live it out. This is what my best today lives like. I'll talk to you again on the next episode. If you enjoyed this week's episode of the Best Today podcast, you are going to love the Best Today Guide. Our Better Than a Planner guide teaches you how to get clear on what you want, identify your self-destructive habits and behaviors, and intentionally create space to prioritize yourself every single day. Don't go the journey to being your best one today at a time without the Best Today Guide. See inside its pages and order yours today at besttodayguide.com. Even better, when you order the Best Today Guide, we gift you with your first month free inside of the Best Today membership. So what are you waiting for? We're giving you everything you need to trade busy for intention. Go to besttodayguide.com and order yours today and join thousands of women across the globe proclaiming each day, this is what my best today looks like.